end. Make sure you end.
When we get
What Kevin.
done. Yes.
Remember what Kevin told us before? If you don't
Yeah.
click end, you have like a 40-hour show.
Show broadcast on here. Okay. So everybody, here I am. My whole
Uh,
story is I just walked in 5 minutes ago and Ron's like going, please, will somebody please run this for me tonight? Um, like I said, I've not been home since 6 o'clock this morning. And so this should be interesting.
all right,
Um,
I do have us going live on Mixler as well, so you're
okay. It
streaming
does
over
say that
there.
we're live on Facebook. Oh, and you know what?
Huh?
I'm hoping it's on YouTube and not your personal one.
It should be on the Earth Radio one. I can check. Let me check. Hold on.
Yeah, you might want to check. Yeah, you might want to check that.
Let me check. All
But as
right.
you can see, my wild child in the background is already all over the top of my kitchen counters because I just got home.
Oh, there it is live. Yeah, it says live. Okay, so we're good to
Okay,
go.
good.
All
Good.
right. So you got it going right, and it says live on my selection thing on the top right there. It says Facebook,
Okay.
Earth Radio Shows, Facebook, and Earth Radio YouTube channel,
Okay.
and that would
So if
be
anybody makes any comments, I'll be able to see it here pretty soon.
should be
So,
able to. Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
Um,
this.
if
So
anybody
I
sees,
apologize for my appearance.
you always look wonderful, so don't worry about
Oh,
that.
well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You look better than me anyway. Make sure.
Oh, there's Vivi. Hi, baby girl.
Okay, now she can, if you want to share, I can share her the link, or she can share, or you can share her the link. And also, we got to share it with Jesse so he knows where to find us. So we have to. I can do that actually. Let me see here. Hold on. Let me see how do I do that now? Okay, I gotta go. I gotta go copy that right. Copy copy link. There we go. Okay. I'll figure this stuff out. I promise you. I'll get it figured out.
Dude, I can't figure it out.
It's a matter of. It's a matter of. Um. Uh. Matter of getting
Oh,
accustomed
Vivi,
to.
Vivi can't join us tonight. She's here to
Oh,
listen.
darn it!
So, okay, so I need to copy this. I need to sign into
I just
YouTube.
copied it. I just sent it over to Jesse's messenger, so he should be joining us
Okay.
shortly. And
Where's my Charles for tonight?
I don't see him, but send it. I can send it to him. I'll forward it to him this way, and then he can join if he wants to. And I'll make sure
Okay.
he knows a special request by you.
Oh, it don't matter. It don't matter. Let's see. So you're sending it to him through
Yeah,
Messenger.
I sent it to him on Skype, and I sent the
Okay.
link to Jesse on Messenger, on Facebook Messenger. And I like this platform, believe it or not.
Okay.
I'm getting used to it. As you can tell, we're doing pretty well. Um,
I'm actually going to see. I don't think Papa Tom's on. I was
Not
going to
yet.
send it to him as well, but
Well,
I
I
don't
can
think he's
find
on.
it on Skype. Get his name on Skype.
Okay.
I'll send it to him there. And I get it. Okay. You want me to send it to Andy too? Oh my gosh, we could have
Well,
Andy
see,
as
the
a
crazy
chat.
thing is that I think I came home Tuesday evening, and I had, or was it? No, we did Charles' show. We did Survivor Circle Tuesday. Wednesday, I came home and I had no internet.
Oh no.
But it wasn't just me, it was everybody in this area around me. So, they had said something about it would be Friday evening, could be
Well, there he is.
Saturday.
I found Tom. I'll send him the link.
Oh, excellent.
And then if anyone else is in chat on either Mixler or on YouTube or on Facebook and you say, hey, I want to be in, I can have up to 10 people in the chat. Well, this is just open round table today. Nothing exciting here. Just some conversation about absolutely nothing. And
As usual.
we're having fun. Maria's talking about some worldwide internet outage. And I'm talking about snow is everywhere because we are on a flat planet, so everyone has snow. And that's not true, of course, but anyway, it sounded good. It sounded good when I thought about it, you know.
Well, and we have my area has escaped another snowstorm because we had one last week. But now it's going the central and eastern part of Kentucky is going to get it. So I'm going to escape it
Why
this
am I
time.
not seeing? Okay, now I don't see the Facebook messages. Anyone messaging there? I don't know.
If there's not anybody watching on Facebook, we won't
Not yet.
get any messages there.
Okay, it is early yet, so.
Yeah.
Now, see, I had changed my logo, but apparently it didn't go over that way. It only changed it for that one video that I did. Because I had it changed for Alan, so, and then it's not there now. So I don't know what happened there. I thought it would be on the permanent logo. But anyway, we'll figure it out. We'll work on that.
As usual. That's usually how it happens.
All right.
But so is anything interesting that's been going on? I've seen some crazy news lately. It's all been about conspiracy theories that
Well, now something that is not any longer a conspiracy, and it is a real situation that is really happening right now in Minneapolis and St. Paul, Minnesota. Now that's way away from me, so hopefully I won't have to deal with it here. But in the restaurants and bars, you have to validate your status of your protection. I'll say it that way. That way we don't get kicked off. You know, you say the wrong word, you get kicked off of here. So you say protection, and they don't know what the hell you're talking about.
this
Okay.
is true.
You could be talking about something else, right? And then you might get kicked off for that topic. You know. But anyway, no, if you cannot validate your protection, then you don't get to eat there. So you're there with your friends. So if I go to a restaurant with you, Maria, we go to lunch. All right.
Right.
And I want to treat you to lunch. Say, hey, let's go eat lunch. And then the restaurant there is going to say, oh well, you don't have your card. You don't have your proof. You know, you can't eat. I think that's horseshit. I don't even think that's legal. Okay, it's a medical thing that they shouldn't have any control over, as far as saying you can or cannot eat in the place, or you cannot shop in a place, or you know what I mean. It should not be on that at all. You should be able to eat anywhere you want, whether you are or not protected.
Sorry about that.
And
I told you. I
did they
just
hear me
walked in the
talking?
door.
They,
No, my
oh,
animals are like happy to see me and they're running
oh,
around. So this is hilarious because this is my life.
So and then what's interesting is the Supreme Court just blocked the mandate for large companies, but yet they haven't done anything on this so-called rule. It's not really a law, but it's a rule that the establishments can place on people to prove their status. I don't agree with that. I don't know what you think about that. And that was one of the things I wanted to discuss tonight, actually. Just as an open.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to step away for just a minute. I'll be right back. I gotta let these bitches out. I'll be
All
right
right.
back.
I never heard it so lively. Now I wish that we had some other people and nobody else talked to, just myself. So, I mean, I'm fine. I have my protection. I have. That dog is going crazy, Venus. You should have. You should be in chat with us. You should be. We could use a reading. That's crazy. That dog sounded crazy. That was your what, Sadie, right? Whatever. What is the name?
My dog is Sadie, but
That's what I thought. I thought I had the right name.
yeah,
My
the
sister had
the
the same name for a dog, and I got confused for a minute. Who was who?
well, it was 2 of the cats that had been wanting outside, and I just got in, and I hadn't had time to let them go, so they decided they wanted to fight with each other.
So now I don't have a problem necessarily with showing the fact that I have my protection, but the fact that they're going to turn you or anyone else away because they don't have it is wrong, in my opinion. In my opinion. Now I don't know how else you can, save or change that rule, or to change it rather. So I don't know what we need to do to get through this, except just don't go on. Yeah, simple as that. I thought they were talking about, all of a sudden they got rid of the um vax card for the flying. Oh wait, can I say that? I don't know if I can say that word. They got rid of that
Yeah.
card. They got rid of that card for the flying, so you wouldn't have to have the ID, to fly, right? They got rid of that. But while we weren't looking, they put this little rule in with the local restaurants and bars, and nobody's even saying anything about it. I'll show it around. She won't go there,
But is
And
that a mandate, or is that something that
that is the local establishments that are
okay,
causing this rule to happen.
okay.
Now, in my viewpoint, I just won't fly. Of course, I drive everywhere anyway. So if I have to fly, I ain't going. if I if I can drive there with a car, I will drive there no matter how long it takes. Which you know that I go,
Right.
to New York. It takes 25 hours to drive there. On a good day, if I don't listen to OnStar. Uh,
Dude, you wouldn't listen to us. I guess you will now.
yeah. But I'm going to use, I think I'll use Charles navigation with Google before I do that again. But, yeah, so, I'm not afraid to drive everywhere. So the passport, so-called passport, they called it, we don't need to worry about that. Because I don't think I need to have one when I'm driving, but then if a cop pulls me over speeding, oh, do you have your papers? Do you have your license, registration? Oh, and your status. Do you have your
You
status? Oh,
know, it may be going to the point that if you get your driver's license renewed, that you may have to have the heart attack pass.
mm.
Some of them are wanting to lean that way.
Well, I know. See, when I went and got my new so-called real ID,
I
the
have
one that
totally
was
lost you. Where are you at? There
when
you
I
are.
got my new real ID, and I had to go through the process to get my birth certificate and everything like that, and that was a lot of pain in the neck. It cost me another, I don't know, $75 to get all that done, besides the regular cost of the license. But now I got that so-called all-important real ID that I can drive across the Canada and Mexican borders without any problem, without a passport. This particular license will allow me to do that. But now, then you got the situation of the status that you're going to have to have. You have to have the endorsement of your status, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And so that's going to come to that. And if you don't have that, then you're going to be like what I think Tristan was talking about, the social credit score, your
Well, now
social credit credit.
China has already put that in place.
Oh, wow.
That's been going on for many years
Oh,
in
boy.
China. And it's worse than your credit score.
Yeah.
So this is nothing new. And if we keep voting back in the same assholes that are in there that are pushing for this,
Yeah.
this is what we're going to end up having. And the bad part about it is that most people don't pay attention to what's going on, and they just don't want anything messing with their own lives. So, it's the attitude of if it doesn't affect me, then I'm not going to worry about it. But by the time that it affects the people, it's too late. So that's it. That's the sad part that we've got to be looking at. So exactly, the new world order. You're correct.
Yeah.
So and that's what they've been pushing for. Agenda 21 came out back in the 90s. The United Nations actually published it and put it out there. It's there for anybody to read, and it goes through so many different things. And one of the key phrases that they were wanting to push was it sustainable development? I think it was. And then it wasn't long. You heard that everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's a term that you hear constantly.
And you saw during the President Trump election, you saw his, or I'll say correctly, former President Trump. I'll be correct in my terminology, but anyway, um, during his whole 4 years in office, it was unprecedented. The word was unprecedented.
Oh my
That was
Lord.
used like that was
Constantly.
you can do a song on that and it'd be #1 hit. Because everybody was using that
Mm-hmm.
tune, right? So, um, then all of a sudden now it's not even used. You hardly even hear it now.
Well,
The
hell,
other
because this some bitch ain't doing anything that's unprecedented,
the other day
except his
I heard,
approval ratings.
yeah, yeah,
Hang on. I got to go take care of my animals.
all
I'll be
right,
right back. I'm going to
yeah.
mute and stop
All right, go
camera.
ahead. Good. Yeah, the other day I heard someone use the terminology, and it was like, why? Now, what's interesting is you don't hear about the illegal immigrants that were arrested for crossing the border, and then they released them. But guess where they released them? In the United States. That's right. And so now they're running around freely and openly and no restrictions. And some of them can have records. Some of them should be in jail, but they should be back in Mexico or wherever they belong, whatever country they're coming from. They need to go back home where they need to go. I'm okay with anyone coming into this country, but you need to do it correctly. Do it right. Okay. I happen to be born here, so that makes it right for me. I was just talking about the illegal aliens, and when they had I don't know how many thousands, but they released a bunch of illegal aliens or immigrants, and guess where they released them at?
All over the
In the
U.S.
United States, not in Mexico. They were supposed to arrest them and return them to Mexico or their home country, wherever that might be. Okay, not all of them are Mexican, but you know what I'm saying, for the most part. But they didn't do that. They just released them in Texas or whatever. It was
Texas,
like,
Tennessee. Now I know for a fact that Tennessee, Governor Lee, I believe is that's correct. But
yeah,
he had specifically said, do not fly any of these into my state. Don't
Yeah.
do it. In the middle of the night, they were flying them in,
Yeah.
and they were caught. I don't know if they ever did a lawsuit against the federal government for that or anything, but I mean, it's been happening. And isn't it funny that all of a sudden you don't hear anything about the border anymore?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whenever all the Haitians
That's what
came
I
up
was just
there.
getting at. That's what I was just getting at is that you had all those immigrants released, but nobody
Well, but
said one.
do you remember why they decided that they were going to stop that? Do you remember what the incident was that was being told on the
About the
news at
four
that
hundred
time?
thousand dollars per
No.
person.
I'm talking about whenever all the Haitians were up there at the border,
Huh.
and what had happened, the news story that come across there was Black Lives Matter had decided that they were going to go down there to the border, and they were going to where all the Haitians were, and they were going to do whatever it is that they do. And that was on a
Hmm.
Friday. And Monday, you didn't hear shit anymore. You didn't see
Yeah.
any pictures. You didn't see anything. Nothing. So, and
Interesting.
that was the end of any stories that came from the border.
Okay. And yeah, because I always call her Camel Harris, not Camel.
Camel
I,
toe hairs.
it's funny when I say camel when I like type that in text, in chat anywhere when I say camel instead of Camela, and it's like, oh, you can't say that. That's wrong, and then you get a strike for saying that. No, well,
Yeah.
she kind of looks like a camel, but anyway, that's beside the point. But anyway, um, no, she was supposed to go there and represent, you know, the White House, right? But I don't think she even went.
It's
You,
like
you,
Biden's not even in the White House right now. He's in the fake one.
he's in
And
some green
and
room somewhere.
there is a lot of pictures of him in a fake White House, and it's
Yeah,
creepy.
exactly, exactly. And I don't think I've ever seen any president do that before. You know, um, they were always at the White House in the Oval Room,
Well,
right?
you would think
Oval
that they would
Office.
at least make the background match the original. I
Yeah,
mean, come on, whatever. But
yeah.
anyways, so let's not talk about that bullshit because that's just not where
That's fine. Yeah,
I
it
need
is
to go
open.
right
It
now.
is open discussion though, so you can talk about anything you want because well, we didn't really have anything to talk about tonight. We didn't have a topic, so I don't know. Any UFO? Of course, Jesse will bring on some UFO reports in a little bit here, in about when he gets here. And usually he's about 30 minutes after we start. So, but in your area, how about you? You got any UFO activity, or you've been doing ghost hunting mostly, right?
Here
Paranormal.
lately, I've just been keeping to myself. I've just been
Yeah.
trying to keep my ducks in a row, and usually they end up in the back of a police car. So, um, I haven't checked in too much here lately. I haven't been a part or checked in with MUFON for probably a couple of years now because they so got on my nerves. Um, I'm glad that there's people that can get into it, and they don't know or have to deal with the drama.
Hmm.
That helps. Um, if you can do that, if you can just be like Jesse does. I mean, he never had to deal with any of that drama. And I don't know why, how, shape, or form I got in the middle of all that. And it might have been what is that called? A guilty by association because of the people that I worked with before I got into MUFON
Yeah.
and after I got into MUFON. I don't know. But there's so many wonderful people out there that can do all of that and not get into the middle of it, and that's the best part. Yes, rose colored glasses. That is perfect.
I
But
think I recognize the name Amethyst, but I can't remember where I know her from. She's the one that's been on the different chats regular, but I think I don't know. I don't want to speak out of turn and think it's someone else that I think it is. If anyone wants to tell me who it is, that's fine. But if it's somebody we know, then that's great. If it's she's undercover, then that's fine. We don't want to talk who it is. But anyway, um,
undercover. So,
yeah,
like, the NSA doesn't already know who we all
right.
are.
No, I was thinking that she was someone else that we all know, but I'm not really sure who, and I don't want to say it is
Well,
somebody.
okay, then don't, and we'll just move on. How about
Yeah.
that? We'll just move on.
Okay. Thank you, Amethyst. Okay, I thought I recognized your name from somewhere. I couldn't remember where from. And thank you. You just reminded me. Thank you. And you're right. And I remembered you. That was like a year ago from last week. So I don't know. It just goes really fast. Seems like it goes really quick lately with the time. But yeah, Ed and the crew on Flash in Japan on YouTube. You guys got to check that one out if you like prospecting stories and fun guests every Tuesday night. He actually does Tuesday night because I convinced him to switch to Tuesday night. And what happened was he was on Thursday night, and I had a Bible study that I would go to. Not really a Bible study, but it was kind of like a little kind of a weekly. Not really religious, but it was at the Catholic high school, but it wasn't really religious. It was just kind of like a Bible study type of thing. Anyway, we go there once a month, and or once a week rather. And on Thursday, and Ed was going to do Flash in Your Pen on Thursday. I said, "Well, Ed, I really want to be watching your show, and I can't do that because I go to this Bible study on Thursday." And so then he said, "Okay, well, I'll have it on Tuesday then." And so he's been having it on Tuesday since basically almost the beginning. That's pretty darn cool, isn't it?
Pretty much.
and But I've been trying to go to that every single Tuesday. Of course, we got some other stuff that we do here, so it's a little bit challenging to multitask, but I do my best to try.
Yeah.
So, but I do let some others as we are evolving. We allow to have the ability to help us out here, and they kind of run it when they want to, and so it's like all of a sudden something will pop up, and oh, so and so is on what? Wait a minute. But that allows me to where I can multitask. I can check out these other shows,
Hmm.
and they can run their own show and do their own thing and have fun, and we can all be having fun at the same time and looking at all kinds of different things, instead of being stuck in one place.
Right.
So, and that's why I like you doing the show tonight. So, what is your uh, starting with 2022 January? What do you think is your most favorite topic of whatever um, conversation you might have, like ghosts or UFOs, or what do you think would be your most favorite topic? Bigfoot. Um, what do you think?
I'm a ghost girl, pretty much. And I love UFO and alien stuff, but I'm just such a paranormal. And I say ghost girl, but I love to go every direction. I want human spirits, I want elementals, I want angels, demons, I want every entity that's in the paranormal world.
Yeah,
So,
interesting.
yeah, until you get into it, and sometimes you
Anyone
might change your mind.
anyone in chat? What do you think? What do you think is your go-to conversation for 2022? You think angels or well, amethyst said spirits? Okay. What do you mean, like good spirits, bad spirits, or any kind of spirit? Just energy, spiritual energy, perhaps. That could be. Yeah. And I'm glad that you found the live show too. Thank you for watching. And Venus.
I swear.
Okay, Venus is.
If I'd have been home about 2 hours ago, they would have all been settled down. They'd have been all of my animals would have been in their corners. They wouldn't have been screaming and fighting.
And if you had time to get cooled down and warm up your computer before you had to jump on the live show.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
It's like when you bring your kids home from school and they get off the school bus. It's like they're everywhere until you finally get them settled down to do their homework.
No, the boss says, "Come on, let's get to work. Let's go to do the show." And hey, Jesse. There's Jesse. Jesse is here. Okay.
I'm trying to add him in. So hang on. Add to stream.
There you go. Hey.
Thank God you're here.
I've been driving her crazy with all my
No.
talk.
I just got home. I've not had a beer. I've not had a drop of bourbon yet. You know, I need a relief, and here you are.
See, that worked out perfect then, right?
Exactly.
And Jesse had some stories last time, but we kind of ran away with our conversation with Alan. And we got sidetracked with Alan. But Jesse, we're open table tonight. We ain't got nobody here.
Yeah, he was a guest last week, so, let him talk,
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going to disappear for a second because my timers have turned all my lights off. So I need to turn lights back on and I'll return.
Go ahead, do your thing.
All right, thanks.
Yep. So how's everybody in the chat doing tonight?
Oh, they're doing good. We got Amethyst from Flash in Japan Prospectors group over there on Tuesday night. Amethyst is a regular over there, which I was trying to figure out where the heck did I know her name from. I see so many names all the time. It's like, where do I know that name from? And I remembered it, but I couldn't remember where it's from. And then Venus, B Psycho is Venus. You know her as Venus on Facebook chat and other places. Venus Vision and some other chats. And so anyway, so not too many people here. We got 7 that are watching for some reason.
It's all good.
And we'll get them to watch later, and they'll see the show
Absolutely.
after. But we're just having fun and discussing just whatever comes to mind. I already tried to talk to political stuff, and they kind of shut me down on that one.
Nah, it's about UFOs, man.
Right. And you weren't here yet, so I didn't want to spoil that.
I hear you.
So
yes, I got a lot of cool stuff coming up. Working on that project that I'm doing. We've been finding some really cool information out about UFOs, man. A lot of correlating stories. People are reporting to us finally, which is really cool. And we use the scientific method to ask questions, just like anybody else would do it if you're a scientist or not. And we're actually starting to figure out how close a UFO can be to somebody before it affects their technology, whether it be their cell phone, their camera. It could be your Sirius XM radio, even your regular radio in the car. Project BATTECH is what we do is we're researching electrical malfunctions associated with UFO sightings or encounters. So we get people reporting to us, hey, I seen a UFO and my radio in my car went wacky or my camera messed up. But then when the UFO gets out to a certain range, the electronics start working again. We've even had people that will see a UFO and their electronics are working until it gets in within a certain range of the person with their technology. So we're in the process of figuring that exact science down to figure out how many feet within a UFO you have to be for it to affect your technology. And we're also looking in to see what is affecting the technology, whether it's just something built into the UFO itself, or if it's something that they're pressing a button of some sort to kind of affect our technology. So we're finding out some really cool information. We're We're also figuring out what technology gets affected the most and whether we can predict a UFO sighting before it even occurs by the technology being affected. We've had multiple cases that get reported where the technology starts to get affected prior to the sighting. And we're trying to look at this in a different aspect to see if this is a possible way to predict the sighting prior to it happening. We're getting quite a few cases in that are showing evidence of this. So it's pretty cool. We plan to continue to do this through this year. And then we're going to rack the numbers up, do all the statistics we possibly can, and then write a research paper and get that published, whether it's with MUFON or the SCU, because I do investigate for the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies as well. And they publish a lot of scientific papers. So all this information we do have will be put out to the public. It's being done before the public. This is not some secret, research project that you don't hear from within the government. We're completely public. I handpicked the team, put it together, and all great people that have great investigative skills. Some of them have they can edit a video and photographs down to a T, and others can work with different technologies, and all of us put together can really do some good. So it's pretty cool stuff that we're figuring out. Really excited about it. And it's going in a great direction. And if anybody ever wants to go and see that stuff, you can go to projectbattech404.wordpress.com. And you can actually, on the page 2, you can actually see some of the cases we've investigated for that project, which is really cool. Really military cases we've gotten, people from the intelligence field have reported all kinds of cool stuff like that. So you can see what we're investigating as we go along, some of the top cases, which is cool.
All right.
So we try to make it as public as possible because it is a public project.
Yeah. Good
So
deal.
it's cool stuff.
Papa Tom is here. Hi, Papa
Yeah.
Tom.
How's everybody?
Hey, Papa
all
Tom,
right.
how you doing?
Great.
All right. So now I had a question for you. Venus was talking about UFOs in and around storms or storms, like during lightning storm or something like that,
Right.
What does that have anything to do with the energy that maybe with what, connected to the energy of UFO, or is it coming to because the storm is there, or what's that about?
We've heard stuff before where UFOs are spotted around these big storms like this.
Yeah.
And there's a couple different aspects or theories that people have of why this is happening. There's a lot of different cases where, we see them there, but we don't know exactly why. So basically, there's just a bunch of theories. One of the big theories is that they're harvesting energy from the storm. Because as everybody knows, if you're into science a little bit, that everything around us has energy. And UFOs need energy, obviously, to run. They use some kind of propulsion system. So it's a good possibility in these lightning storms that they're harvesting large amounts of energy. This can help run their propulsion systems. It can help run, anything that helps the UFO run in general. So it's definitely happening. And there's tons of people reporting seeing stuff during storms. So it's a good point.
All right. And then we talked about this before with the water. You get a lot of UFO sightings in either the West Coast or in the lakes, around the lakes, something like that. Okay.
Yeah, it's the USOs, the unidentified submerged objects.
Yep.
Yeah, that's like if you back with 2004 with the Nimitz. They're all seeing them out there off the coast of California. They were all USOs. They were coming in and out of the water, then flying, then diving. So that's what you were seeing there too. So people think that there's some sort of underwater base on the West Coast, which is pretty interesting because 70% of the Earth is water.
Yeah.
So you would think that one of the places we have not explored is our oceans. So that would be the best place to hide a base or something that we wouldn't know about. So.
And then our own body is how much percent water, or it's supposed
70%? I think it was 70%, something like that.
Yeah,
so 30% land, 70% water.
So here we are. We're our inner self, our interior of our body is the conduit, if you will, to the communication of anything that we're talking about. You see what I'm saying? So, for instance, our own physiology is a communication connection to everything out there, including you, including anyone in chat, including anyone on this planet. And so, at any point, we can receive a crazy message from anyone at any time and think, where the hell did that
Right.
thought come from? Where did that idea come from? Where, if it's something we can use, we're going to use it and maybe make a lot of money off of it. If it's something, or be well off, you know what I mean?
Right.
How do inventions happen? They get the idea from somewhere. Okay, you see what I'm saying? So, I think we're all connected at some point, and that's scary thought sometimes when you think to some of the people you might be connected to. But when you think about it, we are all connected at some point, because of the energy cycles. And there's Maria, she's back.
All right, Jesse, quit fingering your camera. We're gonna start calling you Russ.
Yeah, no, Russ, reality Russ playing with his camera all the time.
Yeah,
Or then don't show us your tonsils either. The little punch
your
in
uvula.
your throat. Don't show us that.
Just put your mouth right up there to the
Yeah.
camera.
So I seen a question in the chat when we were talking about the craft being, harvesting energy during the storms, and someone asked, none of you think the government craft is creating the storms. What do you guys think about that? You know anything about that?
Well, I know that they had the HARP project, HAARP, correct? High altitude atmosphere. What was it? I can't remember.
It doesn't matter. They were screwing up
Anyway,
the atmosphere.
they said
Right.
they said that they discontinued that project. I don't believe them. First of all,
Yeah, it just means
secondly,
that it went into a project that we can't see.
Yeah,
it's not a governmental; it's a
Yeah.
private thing.
and so but they're possibly still, they could be even manipulating weather, which I would hate to think that they would do that. But at the same time, who could possibly benefit from making something good or bad in a weather related situation? Okay. So, like a strange tornado in Kentucky that comes up out of nowhere for nothing, that usually doesn't happen in
Well,
how
now,
many
wait a
years?
minute. Wait a minute.
What?
I'm going to go back to 1925. Weird weather happens. Okay, so not that I'm never going to defend our government on anything. Sorry, but weird weather happens. Don't call it. You can call it climate change if you're going to accept the fact that the Earth goes from ice age to where it's too warm, back to ice age. This is how the Earth has been progressing forever. I mean, what brought it out of an ice age? What put it into an ice age? Nobody knows. You've got theories, you've got all this stuff, but weird weather happens. I mean, yes, we had 2 horrific historical tornadoes to come through my area, and it was awful. And then it wasn't 2 weeks later, 10 days later, we had more tornadoes that came. But those tornadoes were more of a typical thing that happens in Kentucky in November, December, January, February. We have those. They come through, they touch down, they go back up, they touch down, and they're mild. And then the very next, gosh, that happened on New Year's Day, was the
Yep.
last set of tornadoes that come through. And then we had that by that next Thursday, we had anywhere between 5 to 10 inches of snow that hit us. We are fixing to have another. Now, it's not going to hit this side of the state, but just to the east of me
Yep.
and the south, and it's hitting Tennessee again too. So This is typical weather. This is the crap we deal with. And you want to hear all of the, oh my God, we need to do something about our climate because we're causing this and we need more regulations. No, sorry.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
This is not anything to do man made. It's called a weather pattern.
Mhm.
So, anyways, I'm done with my rant.
All right.
I really think we have global warming, and that's why I've got blue balls.
Probably. But anyway, it ain't man made, just saying.
Right. Oh boy.
No, I think whatever's going to happen is going to happen, but I do think that we do play a part in making it happen a lot faster.
There's a
No.
lot. There's a lot of. I mean, because you look at the Vietnam, you look at what they did, what our government did during Vietnam, with
Sprayed
weather
everybody, didn't they?
modification, and nobody wanted to believe it. We were all conspiracy theorists until they produced the documents.
Mhm.
They were doing the cloud seeding.
Now,
So
the question that I might have to add to that document I did there, Maria, thank you for bringing that term up there. I was just thinking about that. Are we going to have another UFO disclosure? Is there going to be any more that's going to be stated in a reality sense? Are we going to have anything else we're going to produce? You know, this last one was what, 108 days they said they had to produce it or whatever. Or they had
180 days. Yeah.
yeah, they had a certain time frame. Is there another one that we have to expect, or was that it, or is it just
We
going to
were
be like,
supposed to. It was a preliminary assessment. So preliminary means first of many. We were supposed to get another one.
there you
It's
go?
over date, of course.
So,
Jesse, what do you think about being in the UFO field? I mean, to us, it was nothing. It was a nothing burger. It was
yeah,
just fluff. Do you really think that it had any impact on regular people?
What exactly?
The UFO report that the government came out with after their 180 days. I don't think
it
it
had
affected.
any effect whatsoever, and
Okay.
it didn't get
I don't think.
I talked about this on the other show that I do on Wednesdays,
Mhm.
and we were talking about how it didn't get no news publicity. Not really. I mean, little stuff here and there, but I mean, it wasn't really talked about. It came out. The people in the field made a big deal about it and kind of talked about it and showed other people that weren't in the field. But it was kind of like, okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
And
it's like nobody
kept
cared, did
moving.
they?
Right. Yeah. Same thing
And
when
even
Robert Salas did the National Press Club with him and the 4 other officers that worked at nuclear missile bases. He came out and did that in Washington, D.C., and nobody reported on it. I mean, it's
right.
crazy.
Mhm.
So
And that's something I don't understand. You know, you were talking about HARP earlier. Do you remember whenever the HARP rings were showing up on weather radars?
I'm not
And they
familiar
were
with HARP too much.
okay.
I haven't looked
Okay.
into it. So
Well,
It's the government's way of trying to control weather.
right.
It was a
Right.
scientific experiment, and I'm with Ron. I just don't think they've actually shut this down like they said they did.
No,
No.
I don't believe that
Supposed to
either.
shut it down 20 years ago.
Would you shut it down if you were the government? I wouldn't.
If I had
I'd
full
keep playing.
control of the weather, no, I sure as heck wouldn't.
Right.
But they were
At
really
any time.
pushing this during Vietnam era, and I grew up with this, and I knew that they were doing a lot of this, but it was such a conspiracy that it was more hush hush than Area 51.
Right.
Maria, you left me. Oh,
It was her
Yeah.
conversation.
She'll be back. She's got a house full of animals she's dealing with, and they're all acting crazy.
hope none of them bite.
I don't know. Cats and
Now,
dogs.
Jesse, I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Ever since I've been your age, I've always had in the back of my head, I had a mother that absolutely refused to believe that there could possibly be any other kind of life form out there in space.
Right.
And I've always been the type of guy that said, man, that is a big waste of space. if there's nobody else out there? Why would our creator make so much space if there's not anybody else out there? Why would he create our being, humans, and not have a backup plan that if there is a global catastrophe and wipes us out, that his creation isn't wiped out. There's another one to take our place, someplace in the universe. And I always felt that he made us so far apart from one another that we can't visit each other because that's what he wants. He wants us to stay away from one another.
Yeah, it's a good possibility. You know, it could just be us and the government vehicles in the sky we're staying.
Until we can grow up and stop this insanely wars and fighting and just it just reminds me of a bunch of kids in a sandbox, and they steal from each other and they fight with each other, and that's our governments. That's governments all around the country.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, like this thing we're going through with Russia right now, well, I can't have the Ukraine or somebody else into the UN. Okay, you can't be in the UN because if they join the UN, then the whole globe can fight Russia. Well, that's kind of silly too.
Right.
Good point, Venus. Venus made a good point there. If anybody wants to read that.
See, I always think about the fact that we're spending so much money on trying to leave Earth and go into the moon and Mars and all that kind of stuff. We haven't even explored our whole entire Earth yet. Why aren't we doing that? There's so much stuff we probably have no idea that's under our oceans or in places we haven't walked, in jungles or rainforests. You know what I mean? Could you imagine some of the stuff we haven't found yet, and we're still spending thousands of millions of dollars just to go to the moon and to send people up in a little aircraft to go sit up there for 5 minutes and come down?
Yeah.
I mean, it blows my mind. It's crazy. We talk about possible bases under the ocean. We haven't even explored the ocean, but we're up on the moon.
It's funny. I would go diving. I have gone scuba diving. I used to have my scuba diving license at one point, but since my health issues, I'm not able to do that anymore. However, I would go diving before I would go on a hot air balloon ride. And I would not blast off into space for 5 seconds for even $10. I wouldn't care. I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't do it. I don't like flying. I mentioned this before about driving. I drive everywhere, and it don't matter how long it'll take me to drive. I drive to Pine Bush, and it takes me, 25 hours to get there, and so I don't mind driving at all. Flying, I do not like to fly. The reason why I don't like the landing or the
turbulence.
And
that's fun.
The sudden stop, and so I don't want to have that, that worry about landing, crashing or whatever, So I just don't fly. I'm okay with crashing in a car. I don't mind that. But if you're flying and you're gonna be crashing, there's not gonna be much left of you. In a car, you have a possibility of surviving. Okay. So.
You like being in control.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's just like a man. Sorry. I don't mean it. I had to say it.
See, now you're outnumbered. You need to have Venus on here.
No, dude, I can crack that whip. I don't need.
I'd rather women were in control and we're on top of everything. So.
But Jesse, you were talking about how we're not exploring our own Earth.
Right.
And you were talking about we're going to the moon, but we're not hearing anything about it. They're not telling us about it.
No.
I mean,
everyone's so focused on that telescope they sent up.
Yeah.
What else are they doing?
Right. And it's like, we've got a moon. Why aren't we all over it? I mean, we could have already been having hotels up there and vacations and stuff like that.
Well,
they've had plenty of time.
the guy that you got to watch is Elon Musk. He's coming right up through the tubes, and he's going to eat a hole right through NASA. And
God, I hope so.
he did this with $350 million from some insurance check that he got, and he has turned the tables on our government for space travel.
Absolutely. I read that Richard Hoagland. You ever hear of him? Hoagland? I read his book about Mars and the city and the face and all the stuff that he found through these pictures and all of his research. And he was talking about the possibility that there's already life up there and we just don't know it. You know what I mean? Or we were there before.
I think we were told to stay the hell off of there.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
just why
we really were.
We were
But
told,
then it makes me think then China's getting ready to go up there.
Yeah.
well, the thing is, I think, to be honest with you, I think that we've been going back ever since. We never stopped going there. They're not going to tell us that.
Well, they're looking for minerals, and they're looking for certain types of helium-3, which is going to fuel our next generation of power on this planet. If we can get cold fusion going.
So they're basically
Venus.
trying to hide it from the public, and so that they can find a way to control it and charge you for it so they can make money off of it.
Bingo.
But if Elon Musk can get there before everybody else, he'll tell them to kiss his big toe.
But see, they've turned his direction, I think, not so
they're
much
turning
to
on
the
him.
moon. They want him to go to Mars. They don't want him going to the moon.
But
because
he's
there's
bucking the
minerals
system.
on the moon that they want.
So distraction process when we go to Mars, because trying to send everything to Mars. So we send our little robot up there, and we got it on Mars. Yay, we landed on Mars, but then they're mining the moon with whatever they're doing on the dark side of the moon that we don't know, or the far side of the moon, I should say.
But if you notice the little sideshow that's going on with the politicians and Elon Musk, it's not pretty. They're pissing him off.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
They are really pissing him off.
And they have really put some restrictions on him. And
They
he
have.
has really fought them. And it's cost him a lot of money to fight these guys. Fight our government, his own government, to fight them so he can explore space.
Now, Venus was talking about China built their own moon. Now, what's interesting about that comment is, and I kind of laugh at it, but it's that they had a story about China had built a bunch of miniature, or not miniature, but copycat of the United States ships, U.S. Navy ships. They also built a town. They have a town that is just buildings in China. It's just all buildings. No people are there. Just buildings. And it looks like a copycat town of I don't know whatever town you're talking about. But anyway, if you go to bomb the place, you're not going to destroy anything but the buildings. You know, you're not going to hurt anybody. But the point is, just a distraction of what they're doing. So I think that this whole space race and this whole energy, like you got the electric car, for instance. I don't know who's going to run out and buy an electric car. Right now they only got them going 400 miles on a full charge. So on one charge you can go 400 miles, then you got to charge up however long it takes to charge up again.
And you're paying for it.
Yeah.
It's not like you're not paying for it. You are being charged for the electric that you take.
the gas.
Exactly. And if you think about it too, how does electricity come to us right now? It's all fossil fuel.
Yeah, through coal.
So this makes no sense to nothing. Yeah. And then plus you think about it, and I saw this on a group. After those tornadoes come through here and just wiped out everything, who's got freaking electricity for an electric chainsaw or anything like that? What are you thinking? There's nothing. You can't do battery-powered anything when you have no electricity.
Right.
So this is something, I mean, they want to shove it down the throats of people, but you've got that flyover country that has all of these natural disasters, and they know the importance of our gas powered stuff. It's reliable. We've got it. Use it.
Now
And
the other thing is that Mike, my friend Mike, you know Mike Maria, you seen Mike before
yeah,
on the video when he said hi. He was telling me what was looking at some cars, and he said all the new cars now are 4-cylinder, no more, not even 6-cylinder anymore. They're
well,
all
then
4
there's some trucks that are that way. They're 6-cylinder, and you can make it to where it bypasses the 4-cylinder, where the 4-cylinder you can keep it from the power going back to a 4-cylinder.
Yeah, that's
But
weird.
yeah,
Well,
I
that changed
mean,
a lot, Ron, with the turbochargers that they've got on these engines now. They can produce a lot more horsepower, and
mhm.
they can lower the amount of pistons that you're using in your vehicle
Hmm.
and have the
Hey,
same
Ed's here.
horsepower.
Hey, Ed. Flash in your pan. Ed is here. Ed is on Flash in your pan on Tuesdays on
Here you go.
YouTube. So he is. I met Ed a couple of times. I met him at Gold Rush Days in Ohio. So
And he's got a good point. I mean, I
Absolutely.
believe electric cars, it's to prevent us from free travel. They want to be able to control where and what we do, cradle to grave,
keep us
24/7,
close to
365.
home. Keep us
It's
close to
exactly
home.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and
And
do you remember years ago when they were wanting to control the temperature of your home,
mhm.
your thermostat? They wanted to control it. And of course, a lot of corporations do that with businesses. You can have a business in Florida and the headquarters is in Minnesota.
Yep.
And if it's 30 degrees in Minnesota and 90 in Florida, the heat's going to be on in that store in Florida because nobody knows not to go.
Yep. It's all
The temperature.
computerized.
Yeah.
Well, Maria, the government does that to me right now. My city government does that with my hot water tank. They regulate it for peak hours and things like that because we pay such a high electric bill out here.
That's awful. Seriously,
It's
that's
terrible.
awful. I know that some of the electric companies around here, they'll send out text messages. Like when it got to be 11 degrees outside was the high, and we were in the negatives at nighttime. They just sent out a reminder and said it would be best if you kept your thermostat at 68 degrees. That would help everybody. That would keep it from overloading the system, which is a nice little hint, but I don't have to if I don't want to.
No,
Right.
And
No.
that's the best part. I keep mine at 65 during the winter. That's fine for me. 72 in the summer. I mean, I'm not one of those that thinks that I need to have my house hot enough that it's summertime inside when it's wintertime outside. I'll
Right.
put
Well,
some extra
right.
when you
clothes
get
on.
70 years
I
old,
have
you'll
I
change
have
your
mine
mind.
at 70. I have mine
This
at
is true.
70. Mine at 70, whether it's summer, winter, whatever, 70.
I used
I'm
to
cool
keep
at
it about
68 during the winter.
68 is where I used to run mine, but now that with the arthritis that I've got so bad, I find myself turning it up a little bit, and I'm paying for it. I
Now,
mean,
do you have gas or electric?
we have natural gas. We had propane, which was so expensive, but now natural gas is climbing right up next to it. So they're going to get you coming and going.
Oh yeah. Well, see, and that was the thing. A lot of times they'll tell you it's like, oh, if you get this, it's cheaper than this, and then everybody gets this, and then they
Always,
all
yeah.
jack the price
Yeah.
up, and
Yeah.
it doesn't do you
Well,
any
what
good.
does help us is we pay our a monthly utility bill for heat, for gas, year round,
Oh, there we
and
go.
that keeps it when it's so cold like it is here, minus 44 below, keeping us from having a $300, $400 bill.
Right.
I mean, in the long run, we're paying it one way or the other.
Oh
but
yeah.
it's still a lot easier in the pocketbook. You can buy groceries this month, if you're not
Oh,
paying
Tom,
three,
Tom,
four hundred dollars.
we got, they're talking about we were supposed to have 2 inches of snow here in the Southwest. You know what we got?
Yeah, would you get a dusting?
About 14 inches.
Oh, you did.
Yeah,
Oh, you
Oops,
guys
they
got the
missed that
snow.
one.
it's
They
still
closed
snowing.
it. They closed everything up here. The wife stayed home from
Yeah,
work and everything, and we got about 3 inches of snow. And you guys got hammered down there. We were
yeah,
supposed to get a foot.
yeah, we got it. And I went to go get my trash can so that the snowplow wouldn't take it away when it come by. And I had to dig a path with my shovel out that way, and it wasn't too cold, thankfully, so that wasn't too bad. Just my feet got a little bit cold because I got the great snowshoes that cover up with snow and get all filled in with the snow. I don't have any boots that I do, but I was too lazy to go get them. But I was just walking through the snow like it was nothing, and finally got the can back up there and got it back where it was supposed to be. Almost, anyway. But anyway,
Say, Jess, do you know
uh,
Roger Marsh?
Roger Marsh, no.
well,
He
I know
was
the
the
author because he
he was
showed
the
the.
executive editor for MUFON for many, many years in their monthly
Okay.
type thing. And they just did an interview with him, and he's starting to get back into the UFO investigation portions of it. And I'm glad to see it because he kind of knows where some of the skeletons are buried.
Right.
Mhm.
And he's
Roger
starting, yeah,
knows a lot.
oh, he does. And he's getting hooked up with the, what channel is that? Discovery Channel with some show. It's a UFO show. It used to be on years ago, and now they brought it back. And he just did his first interview. He was saying something about it on Facebook today.
Okay.
So I was just kind of want to maybe look into him a little bit coming up and connect.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep my eye out, keep my ear open, and see what I hear about him.
Well,
sure.
he backed off for a very long time. His wife was very, very ill, and she recently passed about a year ago, and he moved out to California with his daughter. And I think he's getting bored out there. So he's trying to pick other things up and give him something to do. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out why I can't post comments to some of my destinations. I got both of them selected. What's the problem
They
here?
don't want you to.
Because I'm signed in, Ron.
Okay, but you should be able to correct that where it can all go through where I
Ron,
can see
this
Facebook.
is the first time I have ever done anything with streams.
Oh, that's right.
All
Because
your
you were
fault,
always
Maria.
you were always a guest. That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, we're
Now I'm
doing
in
good,
control.
though. That's
Just-
right.
So I got a question for everybody. How many of you guys think that the crafts that we see in the sky are government, and how many do you think are actual UFOs?
Ooh.
For a guy that have seen one, I'm still not convinced today that wasn't our government. These triangled UFOs. But I don't know
agree.
that we have. I don't know that we have this kind of technology yet to do what this thing was doing. It didn't bank when it turned. It just turned.
Mhm.
It hovered, like 1,000 yards off the ground, and there was no noise. It had light coming off of each corner that streamed down out of the craft, but never touched the ground. Now, I don't know if those are propulsion systems that we retrofitted from something else. Same way with what makes the craft move.
Right.
Silent. So
I don't know. And I need you to tell me how it is that my UFO gets turned on by itself. We haven't discovered this yet either. Is it the government?
I don't know,
It's
but
just
take
one.
the damn batteries out before it burns your house down.
Yeah. Mine didn't turn on by itself. I turned mine on if I want to turn it on.
So I
That's
was
because
told
mine's special.
from somebody in the intelligence field, and I've heard other people say it, in different shows and documentaries and stuff like that. But whatever we have now, the government is at least 10 years ahead of. You know what I mean?
Oh, I bet they're further than that, Jess.
Right.
I really do.
So with what we have some pretty good drone stuff and some pretty good, and even if they're farther than 10 years, you don't think they have craft that we can't identify yet?
Mhm.
I mean, the F-117 was so secret, and now we got on YouTube. You can take a virtual tour of this stupid jet
Right.
that's supposed to be so
Mhm.
secret. Trust me, they've got Aurora. They've got several others that are out there that are a lot
But now,
more secret.
but now, don't you think maybe they would do that purposely to keep your eyes set on that instead of what you're really supposed to be focused on?
Well, sure.
Just a
Oh,
thought.
you bet.
I'm just throwing
Yeah.
stuff out there.
Yep.
I'm actually going to be filming next week for a documentary.
Why? And Ron and I discussed this a little while back. Why all of a sudden do we need a space force if we're not going
Right.
to the moon and harvesting minerals up there?
Right.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
we need protection. That's why I call it a space force, just like we do the Air Force.
There you go.
Force the airspace.
I'm asking these questions because next week I'm having a documentary crew come to my house, and I'm going to be involved with a
good for you.
documentary about the intelligence community and UFOs. So I've been trying to ask everybody different questions about stuff to
Here's
see
a
what I
Question
plan
in
on.
chat.
You know what I mean? Throwing out there during filming next week on Tuesday. So
Yeah. Emma just asked a question.
I don't. It's more of a statement. I don't know. That's a hard one. I think earlier when UFOs first started coming out, it was the real deal. But maybe the government is now mocking the UFOs.
Right.
I'm not for sure. But
Right.
and that's what they're doing. It's like, oh well, we can't let you think that there's something weird going on. So we're
Absolutely.
going to send out as much disinformation as we can. And
Right.
that's all they ever have.
Absolutely. There's this big thing now about Lou Elizondo being a disinformation agent. We're all following him and paying attention to what he's doing, not paying attention to what we're really supposed to be focused on. I mean, this guy comes out of nowhere, says that he risked his whole family, his house, his entire career just to come out and tell people UFOs are real. Then when people start questioning him, the government goes and deletes his files to make it kind of look good. And now
Right.
he's at this point where he's saying the same crap over and over again and really doesn't answer any new questions, really.
Well, I kind of
Yet-
noticed with him, Jess, that in the beginning, a lot of people were just blowing him off
Right.
and really kind of treating him as another spook. But then
Right.
all of a sudden, here in the last 5-10 years, he's really kind of gotten into the limelight. He's been getting on these little TV things and all kinds of stuff, talking about Area 51 and how he used to work there, but nobody can prove it. Well,
Right.
the top secret base, nobody's going to come out and say, yeah, hey, he worked here.
Yeah. And so why would you do that? Why would you put yourself out there? I mean, it's like me saying, oh, well, I saw Jesse in Florida, but yet he lives completely like 900 miles from there. Prove it.
Well,
Prove me that I
Maria,
didn't see him.
here's the thing. I don't believe he did work there because every one of them have to sign a non-disclosure agreement.
And he's been
Right.
talking
The minute
like
they
crazy.
come in the
Yeah,
door, and I'll tell
exactly.
you what, they'd throw you in Leavenworth if you screwed around and broke your silence to that.
Exactly.
Yes.
You'd have been Epstein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that from serving. And I know that if he's in the intelligence field, then that's definitely even bigger than just being in the regular old Army National Guard signing paperwork. So I know that for a fact. That makes me weird about him. And then also the fact that he had three more years to serve for his pension, and he left 3 years early to come out and talk about UFOs.
No,
Yeah.
Really?
No.
see, I don't think he was ever
Come
in
on,
there.
man.
Yeah.
And people are so wrapped up in it. It's just like, and you can't talk to them about it. It's like, well, you really, if you're into this, you really should research before you start believing people. You know what I mean? And
I
there's
mean,
just so much different stuff out there that it's right there.
I have signed a lot of
My opinion.
non-disclosure agreements for companies that I've worked for, aerospace companies, that I can't
Right.
talk.
I have
I've
too.
built models for them. I mean, what's his name? It's got his own thing on YouTube. Ron, we're over there all the time. Mark,
Mark D'Antonio. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
He does stuff for the Navy. He does stuff for the Air Force, building models and making prototypes and stuff like that they can't talk about.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
I'm going to tell you, if he broke silence or I did, we could be sued. We could be
Right.
thrown in jail.
Right.
I mean, I don't get this guy. I mean, he's just telling the whole world what they want to hear just so he can write a book or be on TV or.
Right. And that's the thing. And he claims that he hasn't touched it or taken a penny from any of these things. I don't believe that one bit.
I don't
Are you
believe
kidding?
that
You're
either.
telling me that your kids and your family and your wife is living out of a trailer because you lost everything, but you're
Mhm.
not taking a penny from being on all of these documentaries and all these news
Right.
segments. But now
They
you're
don't-
living in a nice single home with a 4-car garage and an in-ground pool
Yeah.
now all of a sudden.
Mhm.
Come on now.
You should
But
see
see,
the
and what-
castle that Maria lives in. My gosh. I
Well-
Googled her one time and it was like, holy cow, I'm going to go live with her.
Since I've been on tonight, everybody has seen every freaking animal I own because they have zoomed from one end to the
Yep.
other constantly back and forth.
It's
So,
been a
and I
real visit to
apologize.
the zoo, I tell you.
There's Eric.
Hey, Eric.
Hey,
Oh,
buddy.
Hey,
good.
how
You
you
got to
doing?
add him in. But we were okay. So we were talking about the people that are coming out. Jesse, tell me, and Tom, explain to me how it is that people in the UFO community even buy this crap from this people. That scenario. Why do they
Because people
even
want to
listen?
believe so much. Do you know who Angelia is? Angelie?
Yes.
Who are we
It's the
talking about?
same thing with her. Anjali, she came out on in the Capitol and she did a news segment, press conference talking about she met these people in the Nevada desert and they went into the side of the mountain and met these beings and
Right.
communicated with them. And she was doing this on the Capitol steps, saying that she's going to put a team together of scientists and people that are educated to go on and go into the mountain to meet these beings. Everybody jumped on board with her. Do you think that she actually went to do this? No, she canceled and said that the people that own the ranch, unfortunately, are ill right now, so they're unable to take everybody that they got signed. They signed all these people
Right.
up. I mean, this was months of work. People
Who-
getting their their stuff together, their equipment. They were going to go up there. I mean, really intelligent people are going to do this, and she canceled. And now she's not talking and communicating with the ranch owner anymore that has the hole in the side of this mountain.
Right.
Is she a politician or who are we talking
She used to work in the intelligence community,
about?
and she's stating this. But
Mhm.
there's been things that have been found out that she's taken ayahuasca or she was on some kind of mind altering drug, and then the fact that it was supposed to happen, it didn't happen, and so many people jump on board with her and still believe her to this day. So your
Mm.
question, Maria, I can't. I think people just want to believe so much that they'll believe anybody, just like Lou Elizondo. I mean,
Oh,
right
yes.
there's a guy right now that I'm going to interview this week on my show. His name's Manny Area 503 on Twitter. He is just in the process of finishing up a documentary about Lou Elizondo. It's called Who is Lou? And it's about all the research that he's done since I talked to him back in November. He was still working on it, and it's
Mhm.
now coming out within the next month. And it's just him doing this little documentary on everything he's researched about Lou. And there's so much weird stuff in there and things that you'd be like, how does anybody believe a guy like this? You
Well,
know?
and the thing is too, is that how much of that? I mean, that is spoon fed to him from the government. You
Yeah.
you can't trust anybody that's been in the freaking government.
No, and
that comes
especially
into
him.
the UFO field.
He ran an intelligence group. He was a special operations officer who was trained to be the best liar in the world. And he has come out and now he's in the UFO field.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, he could trick any of us. Everybody, I know what everybody says about Lou that likes him. They say, "Oh, Lou's a great guy. He's a really nice
Oh,
guy. I had
yeah.
him on my podcast. He's so cool, so down to
Mhm.
earth. I totally believe him." And it's like, really, this is what this guy's trained to do,
Yeah, it's like here's your sign. Next,
man.
I mean,
Eric,
who else are
can
they
I
going to
ask you a question while
Yeah,
you're
go
on
ahead.
here?
Go ahead, Tom.
Do you remember the guy that was making these little miniature satellite that they were going to send up with a camera and a rocket and all that stuff? I mean, but for a while, and then I kind of jumped into it,
What's it
and I
like?
found out this guy has done nothing but defraud people.
Right, right. Dave Tripp, something like that, a name like that.
Yeah.
I knew he was a shyster way back, and I kept telling everyone. I was telling Mark, telling Bill, and no one. It seemed like no one was listening.
And what's her name? She was with MUFON. She was chief of investigations for a while. Cassie, what is her name?
Chase Koleski.
Oh,
Yes,
Jason.
Jake.
Yeah.
I know her and her husband donated quite a few pennies to this man.
Oh, Bill's answer to that when I had a serious talk to him about it was that the system set up was only if he reached a certain mark or something would he get.
Oh yeah, bullshit. Sorry.
What was his name? It was like Dave Shock.
Shock. Yeah.
That's it, Dave Shock.
Shock Lee or something like that.
He even talked about how he. I don't know if you can hear that. Hold on. He even talked about how he was in a like a tomb in a coffin down below the ground for like a week. Everything he talked about sounded sketchy to me. Just like absolute class act, swindler. And it's just surprising to me. Could you tell that back then when you heard him way back?
No, and I'll tell you what, he suckered me into. I spent hundreds of dollars with him. I built him a replica of his model, and I took it to a UFO conference back a number of years ago in the Arkansas UFO conferences down there in Arkansas. And Chase put this thing up to the audience, and they got a whole bunch of donations and all kinds of crap to this guy off of my model. And it kind of really hacked me off. And if I could ever get my hands on this guy, him and I are going to visit each other.
You're talking about the CubeSat, right? The CubeSat,
Yes.
where
Yep.
it's like
Exactly.
I just wish everybody. It's very strange to me because it just was so obvious to me, and I would tell people, no one would listen. Even Mark D'Antonio, no question about it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what? I'm just scratching my head. Why? I wish people could see what I see. So,
Well, Eric, if I had known this, I did a little research on the guy, and he had taken over the project from some other guy that was supposed to be a physicist and all this other crap. And it was just a big bullshit story is what it was.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, Jesse, we're not supposed to cuss on this site.
Just the fake name alone, Dave Shock. I mean, it was just so obvious.
Well, then what really got obvious to me is when I sent him that model so he could continue raising money, he was no more interested in it than the man in the moon.
Right, exactly.
He said, well, instead of mailing it down here, why don't you just throw it away?
I was
I
ready.
said, really?
I was ready to pin him. The next time I was on one of these with people and he was there, I was going to demand that I want to talk to the guy. He's got the next guy that's going to actually do it or whatever.
Yeah.
I was going to pin him down and say, I want to talk to him. I want to be assured this is all in the up and up. And it just never came up.
I'm just glad that you remember him because I wanted to put it out there tonight since I'm on here. If anybody runs across this shyster, don't give him anything.
What's his name again?
Dave Shock.
Yep. And he pulled the plug. He got off of all the internet. He got off all his emails and everything. Shut it all down. Said he was broke. He took thousands of dollars from people.
Oh yeah, that's how they do work it. That's how they do it. Yeah.
Big scam.
That's like the other guy I can't stand.
David Wilcox.
The guy Dan Burish. I learned of so many people on the YouTube channel, Project Camelot. And this guy, Dan Burish, was on. And the very first video, the first 10 minutes I was watching and listening to him, I knew he was one serious fake. And it was so obvious he was using just the swindler technique of just repeating what you asked about in another way. He didn't need to know anything going into it. And a lot of people were believing him, even like, who's that? The historian guy, the sharp guy with all the pictures of UFOs. I can't, Dan or something. Just so many people actually believe this guy, and I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
Are you talking about Dave Childress?
No, you mean
No.
the swindler?
No. The
Ancient
other
Aliens?
guy that you were talking
No,
about.
no. Everybody knows this guy. I just can't think of his name right off.
David Marler.
Dave Mahler, no. He's a good friend of mine.
Yeah, he's good. I like him.
Yeah.
His title is historian, and he's a sharp guy.
Richard Dolan.
No.
Roger Marsh.
Hold on. I'll Google.
He's kind of an historian.
UFO, maybe historian. It should come right up. He's super cool.
Ron, don't go to sleep. And Maria, get back here.
I don't see him, but everybody knows him, and it was really a shame to hear him talk. And then when he was on with the Burns, Nancy, and
Oh, yeah, Bill. Bill
I
Burns. They
said
interviewed
to her,
me, too.
ask him if he follows Dan Burish, and now all of a sudden he denied it, and he was smart enough to know, drop all that. It was all false information. His big thing, Dan Burish was his big thing was when they asked him about the J-Rod. Right now, there was an alien from this other cool guy who said there was an alien, and they called him J-Rod. Well, that's where Dan Burish just repeated the same information back to Cassidy, and said he started calling them the J-Rods, like it's that's their race, the J-Rods. When I knew that was wrong right off, because it was an alien named J-Rod. He's starting to say the J-Rods, and he's just going on and on and on. You're not familiar with the name, right, Dan Burish? No?
I've heard that name.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know him. Because I don't think, let's see, I'm trying to think of a guy that was down there in Arkansas, and he was doing research and writing books off of other people's research, and it really kind of pissed me off. I mean, this guy, I asked him, and he's been on TV on these discovery shows and stuff, all this information, he knows all about it, but he doesn't know anything about UFOs, never seen one, never been there, never investigated one. Just writes books off of somebody else's, hard work, and that kind of irritates you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, Maria's back. All right.
Aircraft.
Me and my animals. Sorry.
I can't find it.
Ooh, that sounded creepy, Eric.
It's really.
I can't find him.
Everybody knows this kid. I think of him as a kid. He looks like a young guy, and he puts on a whole thing. He can show you all kinds of pictures of Black Project aircraft, blah, 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 all this.
Oh, he was on with MUFON for a while too, wasn't he? He's got a little tiny mustache, kind of like Jesse's got.
I don't know.
Oh, wait a minute. What's his name again?
Shoot. I can't.
Everybody thinks I'm a cop.
Oh,
They
no.
get that
do.
all the time.
Aviation historian.
It's that hat you wear. UFO police. Space
There
police.
you
Right.
go. That's
That's right.
exactly what that's going to be.
Yep.
Listen at Eric. He sounds creepy. It's like we could have like a EVP session going on or something. With their
That's why
ghosts coming through.
I used to figure because I'm like that, that I would never be able to go on a ghost hunt because you would hear me like little grunts and all kinds of things. You know what I mean?
Didn't you go on that haunted house with Bill?
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, I was lucky enough that Ken DaCosta invited me to go to a prison thing down in Rhode Island,
Oh,
and
okay.
it was just as COVID was popping up. They're all shaking my hand, and I'm going, I don't think we should be shaking hands, and they're like, but
Yeah.
that's where I actually met Satori and
Oh yeah.
yeah, I met them and saw them doing their thing back then. I saw that they could do that. That was
That's pretty cool. Yeah, they have a pretty interesting gift there when they do that signaling and clapping things and
Mhm.
knocking sounds, and it, when you get an actual response, like what letter are you talking about, and they're spelling out the name, and it's like, holy cow. And then you look into the history of the name that they're researching, and sure enough, it's that name. Like,
Yeah. My friend Marilyn, who had them at her house, and they were making contact with the previous owners of the house and her mother and all kinds of people. And she was saying she's a little afraid that like the government might come after them or something and trying to use them, whatever. And I was going, no, they're going to be fine. But yeah, Tom, it's so great to talk to you for the first time, right?
Really?
Great. Yeah, I think it's the first time I've listened to you on here before, but I didn't get on.
Oh no, you and I have talked before on Bill's chat.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that.
Yeah, years ago.
Yeah, and when I heard you on here, maybe might have been a few months ago or a half year ago or so, you were saying I heard you talking about that you had a sighting, but you only feel comfortable now talking about it because you were in positions where you couldn't talk about
Well,
it.
I was a volunteer fire chief. I was a volunteer fire investigator, and I worked for the state government, all in one. And you just don't jump out there and say, "Hey guys, I saw a UFO."
Right.
You know what your credibility in court goes to?
Yep.
Zero. Absolute zero.
Yep. And so yeah.
And that's silly because we've got people in our own Air Force that are seeing these things and they're videotaping them, and it's just now coming to light. And I mean,
Yep.
People have lost careers, lost families over it.
Absolutely.
Yep. Like the Japan Airlines pilot.
Yeah.
Hell, yeah.
Yeah.
crazy. So, Tom, now you were talking about the snow. You only got like 3 inches, so it
Oh
missed
God,
you.
we're back to that. Yeah.
Yeah. Snow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Come on.
We're going to go back and talk about the weather.
God.
The
What the
temperature's dropping up here. We're down to like the 20s right now. I heard.
Oh, are you?
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I'm in Boston.
I'll trade you. I think we're
Where's
at
your
22
copies?
below right now.
I figured we were talking about ghosts. We'd talk about the weather. Might as well.
Oh yeah. All aspects.
Yeah.
So I'm working on this case for my project,
Okay.
and we're looking into electrical malfunctions with encounters and sightings. And I got this lady. She reported yesterday, and I interviewed her today on the phone, and she's talking about she can actually see electrical interference within her house and in her room sometimes.
Ooh.
And she actually sent me the videos, and you can see some kind of blurry, like electrical something like in front of her in the videos that she sent. And she says that sometimes there's orbs that come inside of her room at night and they'll actually touch her skin and burn her. And she's got burn marks on her arms and photos of them. She's also said that
Self-mutilator.
whatever, she's got pictures of the craft. She sent pictures of the craft that hovers over her house. And then she says that the light bulbs will unscrew themselves. So she sent a bunch of photos over today. They're pretty neat photos. The craft it's a huge craft if it's really a craft. And the electrical interference is like really cool looking. I've never really seen that on a
You're gonna
video
share that
before.
on your. You're gonna share that on your show, right?
Yeah, the pictures, isn't it true though that every single situation like this where they're talking about pictures, then you see the pictures and there's a letdown. You're like, oh, wait a minute.
She sent me the photos of the interference stuff in the craft. And I can see it. She's in her house and she's pointing at where this is happening at her cabinets, and you can see all of a sudden it looks normal, and then all of a sudden you start seeing this fuzziness, and it starts happening, and then it moves, and she follows it.
a distortion?
It's like it looks like like an electrical interference that you would see, like in the air. You know what I mean? Like, you know how it comes off a vehicle. You know what I mean? Like it's
Looking down a hot highway.
Right, exactly. There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
But it's in her house, and it's crazy looking. I'd never seen it. I'm gonna run them through some programs, but I've never seen anybody report that before, and it was pretty crazy.
Well, Jess, I can give you build a little something onto that on my sighting.
Okay.
The county cop that was with me when we saw this had a camera in his vehicle. And back then they had the cameras fixated, mounted. They wouldn't go up or down. You couldn't turn them.
Right.
His camera was videotaping black. Instead of videotaping this craft, it was videotaping nothing but black. And he figures that there was nothing on it. Now, all our two-way radios, including my handheld walkie-talkie, we were less than a half a mile from the dispatcher's office, and we had no radio communications whatsoever for almost an hour. Now, these two officers were the only ones on in the whole entire area. State Highway Patrol shuts down at midnight down there in Missouri, and they only go out unless they have a call.
Right.
So there was no backup or anything for another officer to come in and even check on anybody, see if they were alive. But finally, we broke away and got far enough away from this craft we could reach the dispatching office.
So this craft actually stayed there that long?
Oh,
You
yeah.
could see the craft
Yeah,
that long?
well, it was about 40 minutes that it sat there and hovered. And we sat there and watched it. What else could you do?
Right.
One of the cops wanted to say, let me get a rifle and see if I can bounce a shell off of it. But,
Yeah, right.
That wasn't a good idea either, in case they shoot back.
Now, did your stuff start working again after the craft
After
left,
it
or
moved
after
off.
you got
Yep.
so far away from it?
Yep. It did. Yeah,
So
everything came
what
back
did it
on.
look like?
Now, they had red lights running, but they were dim. They weren't at full power.
And
You were
that's in
walking
Missouri.
around?
That was
Yeah.
in Missouri, right?
Yep.
Or Missouri, I guess as some people
Missouri.
say. And
Yeah.
anyway,
That's
That's
interesting.
before the highway patrol came out with the blue lights down there, red, blue together. The local police and stuff were just running red lights, and the fire department was running blue lights. So they made us all quit doing that. That was fun.
where was he? Where was there a lake nearby, or?
No,
any
it was
kind of power
like a
station?
stream, like a river,
Okay.
a small stream that went through.
Interesting.
Yep.
Oh,
And it was right behind McDonald's, so I don't know, maybe they placed an order in there.
you're getting their drive-through, right?
Yeah.
But you're saying that a craft was sitting there hovering for 40 minutes?
40 minutes. Yep,
That's
and what did it
crazy.
look like?
sure was.
What did it look like?
It was a triangular type craft. It was a little better than a football field length wide.
Yeah.
And
big.
when it turned, it was the same length going when it turned sideways and
What year
started to
was
move
this?
off. Pardon? Who said what?
What year?
What year was this? This was
Yeah.
2005. Same
Oh.
year that they had it in Dupont, Illinois. The cops over there were chasing the same craft.
Oh, wow.
But they were chasing it 2 hours after we saw ours.
How about that?
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
theirs came through right at sunup, and ours was at about 3 in the morning. And Dave Muller's little group that got together and investigated a lot of this, they kind of came to the conclusion there was a multiple craft sighting event that there could have been more craft there than just the ones that we saw.
And pictures or video or anything?
No, we tried to get them. I had a still camera with me, but I had shot it all up at a arson case that I was working, and that's how I knew I was on my way home. And I was hearing all this on the two-way radio, and I shot down that way. Hopefully, I had another roll of film, but I couldn't find one. So
That's
you know,
interesting.
can't
To
hold
have
your
a
hand
cra-
up and say, "Wait a minute, guys, I gotta go get some more film."
Right. To have a crash sit there for 40 minutes is just,
40
that's
minutes.
interesting in itself.
Yeah.
Hopefully, the next big thing is really good video or pictures of us. I want to see a saucer more than anything, but anything.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
Do you think that the crafts have changed over time?
over time.
Like,
No.
like the actual
No.
UFOs themselves that have been here since, like, say Roswell. Everybody back then used to see saucers. Now we see triangles. Do you
Uh-huh.
think that they have forwarded themselves in technology to where their craft has changed?
Not so much as their craft have changed, that the aliens have changed. Maybe we're
Okay.
getting different species in here
Yeah,
Right.
with
I
different
that.
craft.
Okay.
And I mean, like we change car models, why wouldn't they change?
Exactly.
You know, upgrade whatever they're doing.
I think basically you can put gravitics into any shape you want.
Oh, sure.
I think something tells me that the majority of them are saucers. That's just my belief, especially like with the Bob Lazar thing and everything. But triangles, some really good cases. But
Yeah.
I'm like nearly 100% on like just the Travis Walton case. They all saw this saucer.
Yes.
So
He's actually coming to Philadelphia MUFON this year in May.
Oh,
I'm so
dynamite.
happy he's going to be there.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
he was at Pine Bush.
Was he?
Yeah.
Not this last time,
No,
but
the time
the year
before.
Yeah,
Time before, yeah.
I think he might have been there before that, but I've seen him at least 4 or 5 times now, different places.
He's interesting.
Okay.
You
Did
try
anybody hear Philip Mantle? Do you guys know who he is?
Yeah.
The UK researcher.
the name sounds familiar, but I can't place him.
He just he actually just got some information back from the Ministry of Defense about Nick Pope not actually being running the UK's Ministry of Defense UFO department.
In the
And
past.
that right
Really?
and the fact and he actually shared the documents on Twitter and Facebook.
I think I got
Um,
that. I think he sent it on an email.
Yeah, he sent it out to me too. And it states that Nick Pope was only partially involved with that for about 3 years.
Oh, no.
And he was actually
Huh.
he didn't run any program. He was actually an assistant at a
You got to
desk.
be careful of that. You also got to look closely at that because that could be a smudge. But
Yeah, because he makes a lot of money at that. I stood
Right.
and talked to Nick Pope for about 10 minutes at the UFO conference one day.
Right.
mhm.
And he sure seemed to know what he was talking about, but that means he's done his research. That's all.
Exactly.
Were-
If
were
anybody
you-
does the research, they can sound intelligent.
But if
Tom-
somebody's out there slamming him and that this is not grounded information, he can turn around and slap a lawsuit on a few people.
Yeah, I mean he could. I mean it's the MOD though. It's coming straight. It's
Yeah.
straight documents from the MOD. It's not like it's a guy on a podcast saying this. It's the government.
He does things that rubs me the wrong way. Like for instance, Skinny Bob the alien, which I'm somewhat convinced I feel is real. If it's not, I think it's a good hoax. But he comes on in a video and just says that it's fake. He doesn't feel he needs to explain why or anything. Just that it's fake, and this is why people do this and that. And I'm like, oh, that's great. We should just listen to you, Nick Pope. But other things, I don't know, Tom. I saw him in Philly, New Jersey,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago at the big another thing he did was he showed a picture of it looked like an authentic picture of an exotic craft parked in like a hangar, and at the angle you're looking at, it kind of looked like, I think what most people think they're looking at when they're looking at it, think they're looking at like a saucer or a round thing, but I'm looking at the landing gear below it, 3 landing gear, and what I realize is that you're probably looking at a triangle craft. But the exact, so that the line across it, you can't really tell,
Yeah.
and just little things like that. He'd probably, I wouldn't doubt that if I asked him, he'd say, "Oh yeah, that's like that's a disc," and I would say, "I don't think so, Nick. Why don't you look at it this way?"
Well, with small models that I have built with UFOs, I have found that they are not very sturdy with 3 landing gear. If you build disc models,
Mhm.
they're better off with 4, just like anything else that we do.
Oh, sure. But I mean, on an actual disc, you're talking about just landing. It doesn't even have to be wheels.
No, you
Yeah,
can sit on the ground just like the craft I've got for my
yeah.
picture there.
And actually, the impression I got, except for like the case with that astronaut guy who's again, I can't think of his name off, but he says it set down, it put out 3 little landing gear, and it landed on the runway. But like with Bob Lazar, his information, it's more like it just sets down on its belly.
Yeah, I would more. It probably has some kind of a protective plate on the belly. I mean, I don't know,
Sure.
unless there's equipment underneath that can't put the weight of the craft on the ground. I don't know.
Mhm.
What do you think, Ron?
What about the sheriff in, what was it, New Mexico, where he saw the craft land?
Land. Yeah, I remember
what
I've
was his
seen
name?
something about that just
I can't remember
recently.
his name now.
The astronaut guy?
No,
No,
he was
no,
the
this
sheriff,
is
and
Oh, okay. Lonnie Zamora or something.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Sometimes these names just pop out of the
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
And then
So
I knew the story, but I couldn't remember the name.
Mm.
But that was what, like a egg shaped craft, but it had like 3 legs for landing gear.
Mhm.
Now you'd think with the technology, why would they even need to land? First of all.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Maria, come
So I have the document in front of me about Nick Pope.
Maria, come back.
go ahead.
So here's the document. It's from the Ministry of Defense, main building, Whitehall, London, SW, whatever, Air Staff 2. At one point, it says, turning specifically to your comments concern. This is obviously a FOIA request return after a couple different times, and it says, turning specifically to your comments concerning Mr. Pope, I should point out that he was a junior desk officer in the Secretary Air Staff 2A section from 91 to 94 and was not in charge or the head of any part of Secretary Air Staff 2 Administrative Office. So it also says,
you better have some proof about that one.
although Section 2A was and still is the focal point for handling queries directed to the MOD in connection with unexplained aerial sightings, during Mr. Pope's time, such work represented a small part of his overall duties. There were no staff working on this subject on a full-time basis, and that remains the case.
Wow.
Interesting.
I have the document, and if you want it, I can send it to you.
Maybe
Yeah.
he will feel inclined to answer to these things. Maybe not.
No,
So
he's
he's been
making too
doing
much money
interviews.
doing what he's
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
Well, he's been doing interviews and claiming that he was in this position as
For
part of
how
the
many
leader.
years? As long as I can remember.
Yeah,
I've been in this quite a
and
while.
so we've been taking him at his word with everything that he's been sharing.
Yeah.
The random time.
I mean, I don't want it to
That
be
just
true.
goes to show you,
No.
Ron, if your information isn't grounded, anything could come to light.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A really crafty debunker, he'll come up with something that just makes you,
Nick Pope, yeah.
yeah, give,
He does debunk.
Yeah, well, a crafty debunker. Now, I'm talking smarter than Nick Pope. Somewhat, a
Nick
crafty
West.
debunker can have an answer as to for someone with something that really makes you click. You're like, oh yeah, right, and you
Mhm.
don't end up even really verifying what he says. It seems so obvious that
Yeah.
telling the truth about someone, and yet, like for instance, I think there's a lot of stuff that hits Stephen Greer, like a lot of people say that, he's just an easy target, um, but I don't know.
That's a whole nother story.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's you hear a debunk and you fall for it. Then a few years later, you're like, you know what? Now, what I've learned is that you got to be really careful, and every which angle these things happen, you need to verify it as best you can. And it's funny how you it's a one thing I found in this field is it's great to every now and then recheck on everything that you ever thought you knew. Go over it again
Yeah.
and just make sure you didn't fall for something
Yeah.
left or right or up or down.
Yep. Ground your information the best you can. I mean, that's all you can do. And until you find out information like what Jesse just put out tonight, I had no clue that Nick Pope was, like this, or there was some kind of rumor about this, or,
Yeah, I recall him claiming I think to that extent that he ran the program.
That's what he said. He
Oh,
ran
yeah,
the
he was in
program
charge.
from 85 to 2005.
he even stated that to me, to my face. I mean,
Mhm.
And they stated nobody did that full time in this document, and nobody in the MOD was a full time person in that. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. And I have multiple documents here from the MOD about Nick Pope.
I personally, I kind of like Lou Elizondo, but now I saw him for the first time at that symposium in Jersey, and the various things that struck me is he seemed super comfortable up there on the stage with so many people watching. Just seems to fit into the thing. But in the back of my mind is who here has checked and made sure that he is who he says he is and all this and that. I wasn't sure. I still had to verify all that, but it's pretty cool that a guy can get up there and say, for all you those, he says, all you people who are saying UFOs exist, they do. He was the guy that says, yes, you are right. Oh, that's what he liked to say. Guess what? You were right.
well, I don't know. We had a discussion about him already tonight.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
miss it?
I just caught the tail end of that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The documentary's coming out soon, so it's called
Yeah.
Who's Lou? And
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm going to interview the guy that's doing it this week, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, just like I was saying, you gotta double check on everything because they could dedicate a whole documentary towards smudging him.
Yeah,
And
it's supposedly like a 2-hour documentary, and I seen 12 minutes of it as a
Mhm.
preview. And there was some stuff in there in that 12 minutes that was questionable. It's just
it's
crazy.
imagine if you were the person, or if I was the person of this target of this thing. Oh my God, all the stuff they could come up with to make me look like an idiot. It wouldn't be very hard at all.
Oh,
Well,
hell, they do that every day
Anyway.
for me.
Yeah, that's the way it is.
Well, guys, it's pushing 11 o'clock for me, so this old man's going to bed. We
Yeah.
will thank you very much for letting me visit. And
Good talk, too.
Well, thank you,
Good night,
Tom.
Maria.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Tom,
nice to
for
meet
joining
you
us.
too, Tom.
Now, how do you
Yeah.
sign off of this thing?
You just
From
hang
Lee
up.
Studio.
There's a little phone
Yeah,
thing. You
yeah.
hang up.
Oh, okay. Little
Hang
phone
up or-
thing.
and,
No, don't
yeah,
have
you-
a phone thing.
It should
You
say
can
Lee
leave,
Studio at
leave
the
the
bottom.
studio on the lower left-hand
Oh,
side.
there it is. Okay,
Leave-
little X
leave the
with the
studio.
arrow.
There you go.
Okay. Good night,
Have a good
everybody.
night,
Good
Tom.
night.
Good
Good
night,
night.
Papa.
Yeah, Chal is trying to figure out the StreamYard thing, but once we get all the little little tricks figured out, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
Amethyst was saying that she saw a white orb while outside 7 years ago when she was taking a smoke break outside, and there was a white orb. Now, I've seen an orange orb in my backyard here, and Mike had also seen it at the same time, so I know it wasn't just me imagining it.
Who's Mike? You live with Mike?
My friend Mike, yeah.
Oh, okay. He lives there with.
He's not here now, but yeah, he does stay here occasionally.
Yeah, because I thought I saw a guy there or something.
Yeah. Yeah. He kind of does some work around the house that I can't do physically, and so he'll help me out with some of the projects that need to be done. Like he'll get up on the roof and patch the roof up when it needs patching. For leaks and things like that. I can't climb up on the roof anymore.
Oh, I have to interrupt real quick, Ron, because I just happened to think of this, and Jesse, Eric, you will both appreciate this. But am I the new Linda Moulton Howe or what?
She have a lot of
Fluffy.
cats, too?
Yeah, she's got Fluffy and Chocolate. 2 fluffy cats.
I can
got-
guarantee one thing: you're smarter than Linda Moulton Howe.
Oh,
More honest,
that means a lot coming
for
from you.
sure.
But yeah, I'm kind of like Papa. It's pushing 11 Central here, and I know it's already
12 o'clock
midnight
here.
where you boys are. So
I just got on, so y'all can't just leave.
Eric wants to go another 3 hours. He wants to go another 3 hours.
Ron,
Eric,
your birthday's coming up, right?
next week.
All
I'll be
right.
29 again.
right.
Yeah.
Well, something's
Eric,
in the mail, so
honey.
keep an eye out, all right?
Oh, wonderful.
oh,
Yeah. So,
that's sweet.
but yeah, 61. I'll be 61 in 1961. That's pretty interesting, isn't it? 61, right? Isn't that like sign? It's some kind of sign.
Okay. Well, all right. Since you're talking about that, I got to tell you this. 28
Oh.
years ago, I had my child, and on a Friday, and on Sunday they were talking about a winter storm. 28 years later, that's exactly what's happening now.
Oh,
How
wow.
about that?
So yeah, I thought that was a really great
That's
coincidence.
interesting.
That is
But
what-
Thank
Eric,
you.
honey, I don't know what it is we have to do to get your ass on here early.
You
The
know,
rest
you know
of
what
it?
was weird is I saw Ron in YouTube over on KJRA.
Yeah.
So right away I went over and I logged in ERRT, and you know what? It's just one of those times when the radio just didn't play. And I'm sitting there looking, I'm going, nothing going on there. Then an hour later, I left the page and came back, and there's the radio playing for over an hour. I see. I'm like,
Oh,
what?
wow.
I kind of.
I'm glad that you found the YouTube channel and you. I got the right Skype anyway, and so that's good.
Okay. Well, and I don't know how many years we've been doing this, and I don't know what it's going to take to get you to know
it's
that
like
it's
Friday.
10
Yeah,
p.m. every Friday. We're
Yeah.
here.
that's why I knew that, and I'm
I
just
just don't
looking at,
understand.
and the radio wasn't playing. you
Right.
know?
Right. Well, we started doing the video thing because I kind of like this format a little bit. And if we have anything like pictures to show or websites to show, we can, any one of us can do that. We just put the article up if we want to share it or whatever. And so, message, like a monthly newsletter or something like that, we can do that, something like that, so something that's universal information. We're not going to get copyrighted for anything, just something that everyone's common knowledge. You know what I mean? So if you have a picture that's universal, picture
Fair
that
use. You can just
sure.
quote fair use, and as long as you're educating the public, it's fine to
Exactly.
show.
Right.
Yeah, and then that way, we can show what we're talking about as far as like a shape, where we're talking about a UFO that somebody's seen, and we can share it.
I got a
Things
bunch
like
of stuff I can show that I've done on private investigations.
And that's what I
had a guy
like.
send me he just sent me like 12 emails with photos and stuff.
Yeah,
so
so
Right.
now
if you want
just
to do that one night, we can.
we want to get your podcast archives on Earth Radio.
Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna
if you wanna
probably
get
not this
get
week because
some
I
of
got a
those.
lot of crap going
Yeah,
on this
well,
week.
when
But
you can, I just want to keep reminding you of that,
no,
and
I
then
want to do it. I want to get
keep
on it
that
and
up
do it. I just gotta.
in the front there, in the front row. That way we can get it going.
Well, see, Ron thinks everybody's got the same time he's got during
Yeah.
the day.
I mean, I don't have anything. I don't have a job.
He
I
just
don't have
doesn't
any work.
understand. He just, I left my house at 6 o'clock in the morning. I flew in here at 5 till 9 and got this going. So hey,
See that?
I'm awesome. I'm just saying. All right, guys, this has been
All right.
wonderful. Eric, you need to set an alarm on your phone.
Yep.
It is 10 p.m. every Friday evening.
Okay, got
Yep.
it.
And
And
next
nothing.
week is my birthday, so you can be here, and we'll
Yeah.
have Earl Grey as our guest.
Earl
So
Yeah.
Grey.
keep that in mind.
We got to do that. So,
And
but anyways, it was great to see all of y'all tonight. I hope y'all come back and join us next Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Maria,
So-
thank you for doing the show tonight, and
You're
thank you
welcome.
everyone else for being here, and everyone that popped in chat, Daniel and Amethyst and Ed, and everyone else who was in here. Please remember this and subscribe and follow. And if you're not on Mixlr, get over there on Mixlr on Earth Radio. You can go to earthradio.com and you can find all the links there. You can find the player. You can download the Mixlr app and you can get signed up with your email and you can join in on the fun with the audio side. And we have music. We have
lots of good music. We have lots of good music
all week
played.
long. We have everything. We got a lot of stuff going on. So
Yeah, we really do.
Maria does a few shows on her own, and then Kevin Hale has been supplying some playlists and stuff, and he has a show on Tuesday night called Tuesday Night Bites, I think it's called.
Yeah, and then sometimes he throws up a playlist for about an hour on Thursday. So,
Yeah.
but I'll be up in Louisville this weekend, so maybe we can get something going
All right. Well, thank
Saturday
you
or
again for tonight.
Sunday.
Thank you for trying to get home and get this done.
You're welcome.
You saved my butt because I had this weather here. I wasn't sure if I was even going to be on. So, but I'm glad that you were able to do the primary duties of the broadcast. That really helped me out. And Bobby helped me out earlier with music with the theme.
Right.
Yeah, I just had I had done an archive show earlier before MWAT, and I kept losing connection. I was like, oh crap, I'm not going to be able to do the show.
Well, we got to do this one, so and it's
Yeah.
time for us to go.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you very much, and we'll see everybody next week. All right.
Yes. Everybody in the
And,
chat, have a good night.
Have a great
Maria,
weekend and a great night,
Eric,
and we'll see you
Ron.
next time. All right.
good to see you guys.
Good to
Good
see you
night,
still. I'll
Maria.
see you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Bye, everyone.